Hello and welcome to the Fishbowl. My name is Levi, this is Christina.
Hello.
And we'll be hosting the program. Joining us in the studio we have Elise.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Great
Nice
to have you here. And we also have Lecky.
Okay, hi.
Good.
great.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you here. I'm not sure if Christina is.
Of course I am. I invited them.
I didn't want to speak on your behalf if I didn't actually know. We're going to see what Bill has to say about decisions being the hinges of destiny, and we'll be right back with you.
Somebody once said that decisions are the hinges of destiny. Now think about that. That's a loaded statement. Every decision that you make has consequences, good or bad. Decisions to study, not to study. Decisions to go to bed late, go to bed early, and vice versa, getting up early, getting up late. Skipping classes, starting at home, huh? Every decision that you make really does carve a destiny out of who you are. I was brought face to face with this one beautiful June morning in San Antonio, Texas, when I was inducted into the armed services of the United States of America. It was a big step. I'm not going to lie to you. It was a big step. Parts of me wanted to run. Parts of me wanted to flee to Canada. But other parts of me said, no, you need to do your duty as an American citizen, and you need to serve your country. My dad told me something that I'll never forget when he dropped me off at the induction station. He looked at me in the eye, square-jawed, and he said simply this, son, be a good soldier. Now, I could have taken that and I could have ridiculed it, I could have hidden it, I could have put it completely out of my mind. But that statement kept going through my mind throughout the days of my Army career. Every decision that I made to be a good soldier was reflected in learning obedience, in learning to follow instructions, in listening to my superior officers, and also in working together as a team. One of the greatest lessons that I learned in the Army that applied to the spiritual life as well, there's several in fact. One is to know your enemy. That's part of being a good soldier, knowing your enemy. We have an enemy who is out to destroy, who is out to kill, and he is out to steal from us the very life that God has given us. Know the terrain. We live on this planet. We are in the world, but we're not of the world. Understand that things happen. There's collateral damage. There are casualties in this warfare in which we are engaged. Being a good soldier implies that we follow our commanding officer to whatever point he leads us and do whatever he asks. God, as that commanding officer, is calling you to do some great things for him.
So God is calling us to do great things. First, another great thing, you forgot to mention our friends.
Oh, I forgot to introduce Freddie and Esmeralda.
They're the stars of our show.
I've decided I think Freddie is the big one.
No, Esmeralda.
No, Freddie.
Okay, fine. I like Esmeralda should be smaller. All right, so let's get into this. So we can do great things with God. What sort of things? What can God lead us to do, and how do we know for those people who are unsure?
Well, I think decisions being the hinges of destiny is a pretty big call. It depends what sort of decision it is.
Yeah. What kind of decisions can make an impact? For instance, can a small decision make a big impact?
I think decisions that we that lead us in life, like whether we go down the road to turn right, which that road may lead us to things that, we decide whether we shop or not. Or
Yeah.
Well, that's basic decisions. We can sort of turn one way and be led in one path, or turn another way, be led in a completely different path.
Yeah.
And I sometimes wonder, because you only actually live life once when you think about it. And one decision you might make could change the way your life is compared to another decision you make at the same time, and you could go in completely opposite directions. That's, I think, the crux of this matter. Yeah.
And it's a slightly frightening thought. I mean, if one little decision could change the entire path of your life, so it's very easy to suddenly become afraid that maybe I've chosen the wrong path this time, and what if I'm leading myself away from God's plan for my life?
Yes.
So it's a huge responsibility that we've been given to make our own decisions.
Kind of goes hand in hand with chaos theory. Do we believe in chaos theory that a activity as small as a butterfly flapping its wings can have repercussions around the world?
Yeah. I think it's always important, though, to remember that whatever decision you choose, whatever path you take, that you can always turn back to God, that He's always there with you, regardless of whether it ends up being a good or bad. You know, God puts you back on track, but you have to get back on with God again.
Absolutely.
So do you think then that there's only one decision that is right in any given situation?
I don't think so. I think God, you can take numerous paths, and with God, he can get you back on another path, you know. And so many people will decide to do something, and then they change their mind, go somewhere else, and they end up falling back, you know. Some people, you know, a friend had a drug habit, you know, and then ended up quitting, and, you know, they said 10 years of my life I don't even remember, but they're back on track again, you know. It's I think God is always there.
Yeah. I know what you're
But I
saying.
think in that way, it has also helped that person, and that person can share it with others that can that made that decision. So then, therefore, they can help their decision more quickly. Like, oh, that person has gone through that, so therefore, I won't go through that because he's already gone down that path.
You know, you learn through the mistakes of others, your peers, or those around
That shouldn't be like a right decision. I mean, how much do you learn from mistakes? It's probably the worst thing to happen, you know, that we hate, but it's also one of the best things in your
you
life.
learn so much through it.
Yeah.
It's true.
I think also sometimes when you have one of those big life-changing decisions, if you take and there's two choices that seem as good as one another and you don't know which way to go, I think whichever way you go, God still knows the plan for your life. And even if you turn the way that wasn't originally in His plan, He can see He's got the eagle-eye view. He can see the whole roadmap, and all we can see is the intersection that we're at.
Yeah.
So it might be that further up the line, He'll turn us one way or the other and get us back on His path, or maybe
it is a good point.
take us by a different route to the same end point of our journey.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Right now we'll take a short break. We'll be right back with you in a few moments.
Welcome back. Now, we've just been discussing about you're at the intersection, should you go left or right? Is one a bad decision and one a right decision? I have a question. Does God know, is it kind of like predestination? Does He know where we're going to end up? And is there a point to us even bothering to make a decision?
So you're saying, is there a way that we can just always make the decision that we're going to make and we actually don't have any control in it because God knows?
I mean, I know there's free will, but I mean, predestination. Any ideas?
I think that theory originated with, don't get me wrong, I think it was John Calvin, who was one of the early Protestant reformers, and he said that there was, you were born into one life, and God knows that at the end of that life you're going to have lived a certain way and there's nothing you can do about it. But whilst He knows the end from the beginning, I'm not sure, I don't have the answers. I think whilst He knows the end from the beginning, He doesn't always control our decisions and He leaves those up to us.
Those are for us, yeah.
I think it's a bit of a scary thought either way, that we have no control in our lives or that we possibly have almost seemingly total control. Because, to be perfectly honest, the idea even of someone like God calling all the shots and me never having any choice, it makes me feel like a puppet. So I've always kind of considered more that God calls us to Him, and He has a plan, He has a purpose for our lives, but we can actually move away from His original plan for us. But perhaps it's that He has a plan B, so that when we make that decision that wasn't the one that He hoped we might make, He then knows, okay, now that they've done this, they have this decision coming up, and maybe I can guide them one way or the other.
He did that with the children of Israel, didn't He? I mean, time and time again, like with the Ten Commandments, how Moses broke the first set, and he went up there and God gave him another one. There's always, it's not like God says, no, you didn't do what I wanted you to do this time. I'm not going to be able to work with it. But I think we do limit our potential by
Yeah.
not sometimes making the right decision in some situations.
I think people get a little confused as in, at what point is free will? You know, it's kind of,
Yeah,
you know, God is, I think it's a good thing to think of that, you know, God is like our backup all the time, that we do have our choices, but He's there to pick us up when we make the bad ones. As in, you know, we do make the choices. It is us, but He's such a constant support for us. And I think that's something that we all have to remember when people say, oh, you know, I can do whatever I want, God's always there kind of thing. But it's our choice.
Yeah, I see that. It's always interesting, like knowing whether we're making a decision based on what we think God wants us to do or what God actually wants us to do.
Yeah. I think it becomes a little bit clearer when you give yourself wholeheartedly to Him. And, you know, the Bible is such a good guide. And you pretty much want the best for the whole world, for everyone to join you in heaven. And I think that it's a good guide for us, like a roadmap,
Definitely.
you know?
It's a wonderful roadmap, but the problem for us is, well, God knows our destination, perhaps we don't.
Yeah.
And so something that always is in the back of my mind is, why can't God give me a big flashing neon sign or speak in a booming voice from heaven and say, this is what you must do? Because sometimes that would just be so much easier. When it's one of those major life-changing decisions that even we know will change our lives. Something like, where will you go and work? Will you go overseas and be a missionary? Will I marry this man or won't I? Will I have children or will I not?
Big decisions.
Those are big decisions, and even we know they're big decisions. And sometimes it's just so scary to think that that's relying on me.
Yeah.
I have to make a decision.
It's
God
definitely- it's definitely true.
He can lead me, but it still comes down to what I end up deciding to do.
Yep. Yes, it does.
That's actually happened to, we had another panelist come and they were speaking of a mission trip and how they needed, you know, that $500 more just to be able to go. And, you know, God gave away. Someone gave exactly the amount that he needed. And it's, in some ways, God does kind of give us this little hint. He didn't have to go. He could have used the money for something else, you know, but he chose to stay true to that. And, you know, and sometimes these little ways God gives us, you know?
I think it's also so that we can not only rely on ourselves, but rely on other people as well. Like not always, other people around us, and therefore that's how we can share what we believe in and what faith we have in Jesus.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like you're a theology student and you've had big decisions to make. Like, was there any time when you felt that God was particularly calling you to ministry? Was it a massive decision you had to make? Because ministry is not something I feel that you can just sort of say, oh, I'm going to do ministry. It's something that a lot of people say they have to be called to. Did you have to make that decision?
As a matter of fact, I grew up as a Christian, and I sort of like hang around the wrong sort of group of boys. And just like how Bill Fogg, with that verse that we're all soldiers, I was sort of a soldier, but for a different group of boys. And like it came to a point where that verse I've always learned, like broad is the way that leads to destruction,
narrow.
and narrow is the path, and like that has to do with a lot of peer pressure as well. Like we usually all choose choices we together as friends, but really comes down to ourselves. And that's one thing that made me decide to become a theology student, was because it says that only a few can find it. And like, I want to be that few that can help other people as well to find it.
Like, hold on to that. We'll be back right after the break.
Welcome back to the program. We'll be hearing a little bit more from Lecky in a few moments. For now, we're talking about decisions and priorities. How do we know when our priorities are aligned with the will of God?
I guess you have to make the decision. We're here on this earth just once. And I guess, what's the best thing? Do you want to have just fun? Do you want to, I don't know, do you want to...
Do we want to serve God?
Yeah. And I mean, it should be fun. Serving God should be fun, but...
There's a saying that I've heard, which was let go and let God. And usually, like, it's hard for us. Like, we always want to do it our way. But if we really let go and let God do it, the decisions will come easier. And like we were talking about before, there are some decisions that maybe daunting or hard, like, and there are some that are the same. They are both good, and which one do I choose? And I believe verses which was about being a soldier, having prayer is a good connection and a communication which will
Communication tool.
tool that will keep us like knowing more about what we should, which choice we should make.
That's right.
For sure.
I think also when we're looking at those priorities, are we here for fun? Are we here to do God's will? Like Christina said, they don't have to be mutually exclusive, because I don't believe that God wants anything for my life that would make me miserable.
Yes.
You know, he says in his scriptures, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you."
Exactly. And he also says that he's come to give us life, and that we might have it more abundantly. That's one of my favourite verses.
Definitely. And I love to picture God as having a sense of humor, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on, it's got to be one of the best things to bring you up when you're down, and you know, just to picture God just laughing with you.
Well, otherwise,
and
where would have we gotten our sense of humour from?
Exactly. Come on.
Well, you don't
look at
have
these-
much of a sense of humour. Christina, I think there's a question that came through. Do we want to have a go?
Oh, definitely. We do. Let's see in our wonderful fishbowl. Well, the second one.
Secondary fishbowl.
Without some water. Let's see. Random questions. Oh, whatever. In my life, I often have two choices that are equally good. How do I know which one to choose? And does God care which decision I make?
We almost talked about this before, didn't we? I think there's
perfect.
some situations where God leaves the choice up to us, and He's saying, I'm not particularly concerned with what you do right now. I will bless you whichever path you choose to take. Have you guys felt that? Or?
Yeah, I think he's behind us 100%, because like if we let him take control, I think he'll just guide us. He'll know us. He'll lead us, let us, and our character come out as well.
And maybe if we allow Him to say, open the doors for us, then He will, one way or another, if we say, God, I want you to open the doors if this is what I want you to do. And if not, then close them.
I disagree a little bit. Personally, I do believe that God is interested in our choices, and that sometimes you have these two choices that are equally good, but sometimes when you pray, God, open the door or close the window, and you wait, and nothing seems to happen, and you've got a very human deadline that you have to meet, so sometimes you just have to make a decision and barge on ahead, and maybe somewhere down the track God will put up a blockade for you, but I don't think you always have the answer when you feel that you need it,
No, I don't,
and
I don't
when
think
you're
that's true
trying to
either.
make the decision.
Because I think a lot of times God wants us to learn through a decision we make.
Definitely.
And it's not that we do something wrong, but that He just wants us to learn what not to do next time.
And exactly
or
like we said before, I mean, you can help other people from what you've learned, you know, the impact you can make.
Well, we're running out of time, so Lecky, would you like to share a little bit about your experience?
No worries. I've been like, in my life, the decisions I've gone through that have, as we've spoken before and just now about decisions, I've gone through a lot of bad decisions and some good decisions, and these decisions have brought me to a better understanding of what God has planned for me. And a verse that I usually use is found in Psalms chapter 50, verse 15. And my dad says it's sort of like a telephone line, and if we ever were to use it, that God will be there. And it goes, call on me on the day of trouble, and I shall rescue you, and you shall glorify me. And every day, if I'm in trouble, I do call on God, and He rescues me. And in that way, that's one reason why also I became a theology student, was to glorify Him and to give back the experiences that I have gone through life. So, yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much for sharing. So when do you graduate?
Probably in 2 more years.
Oh, good job.
Busy.
And at least
God
you as
bless.
well. You graduate this year.
I graduate this year.
Oh,
So I've got a big decision in front of me right now.
Wow. But it's good. God's
It
always
is
there
good.
for us.
Yeah.
He is.
And maybe this is a situation where He's not telling you what to do, but it's open for you, so.
I think it is one of those situations. I'm actually struggling at the moment to just step out in faith and rely on the fact that no matter what I do, God will still be with me. Even if I make a wrong decision in my life, He's not going to keep going along the other path and abandon me. He's going to follow me whichever way I turn. And He's going to be there tapping me on the shoulder saying, hello, turn around, go the other way. Or perhaps even saying, well, this isn't what I wanted first for you, but I can turn good things out of this.
Yeah.
I can make good things out of this maybe not so good situation all the time.
Wow, well, what a great way to end the program. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us.
Yes.
And thanks, Levi. Glad to have your sense of humor. And thank you, Esmeralda and Freddie.
Thanks so much, Elise.
Thanks
and
for joining us.
Blakey.
Enjoy the music that we have for you.
In my moments of fear, through every pain, every tear, there's a God who's been faithful to me. When my strength was all gone, when my heart had no song, still in love, He's proved faithful to me. Every word He's promised is true. What I thought was impossible, I've seen my God do. He's been faithful, faithful to me. Looking back, His love and mercy I see. Though in my heart I have questioned, even failed to believe, yet He's been faithful, faithful to me. When my heart looked away, the many times I could not pray, even then He was faithful to me. The days I spent so selfishly, reaching out for what pleased me, still my God, He was faithful to me. Every time I come back to Him, He is waiting with open arms, and I see once again. He's been faithful, faithful to me. Looking back, His love and mercy I see. Though in my heart failed to believe, yet he's been faithful, faithful, though in my heart I have questioned, even failed to believe, yet he's been faithful, faithful to